Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Patricia J Show. On today's episode, we sit down with top cop Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders at West Lodge in Toronto and get to know the man behind the uniform. It's an exciting time. Thank you so much, my friend, for being here, first and foremost.
Good seeing you again.
Happy Carnival. It's Carnival season.
I know. Exciting, exciting.
It is an exciting time. Toronto's really coming alive now, but it's about you today. I want to know, Chief, how did it all get started for you?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I could go for hours on my journey. I can tell you that the last 2 years have been incredibly exciting. It's an opportunity of really getting to meet a lot of real decent people and show what the city is made of. I joined in 1982. Before that, I actually was disc jockeying, which I thought was fantastic.
Wow.
But it wasn't as stable an industry, and I wanted something a little more stable, but something that had every day was going to be different. And so that's what got me into policing.
Really? Because what I know about you is that you knew that policing was your thing. Amongst other things, like, you may not know, he's a skilled photographer. I want to talk about that and some of your favorite pieces. But you knew fresh out of high school, and many kids don't know this, that you wanted to be in policing.
It was a conversation that I overheard in the cafeteria at school, and it was someone else that was interested in policing. And my friend beside me said, you know what, you'd make a really good police officer.
Really?
You've got good judgment. And I didn't really think about it until then. And I then went out and applied for the RCMP.
Yes.
And my family kind of went, well, you know what, if you're not sure, you don't want to get stuck outside of your safety net.
Right.
And so I applied for Toronto, and Toronto responded first, which was great.
Really?
Yeah.
And Toronto's somewhere you call home, but you weren't born here.
No. Born in England.
Yes.
And then my dad moved to Montreal, and we followed Dad over to Montreal, and then from Montreal to a small town called Milton.
Yes.
And spent a lot of time in Milton, and I spent my whole adult life here in Toronto. So it's 34 and a half years in the big smoke.
Right, 34 and a half years in the big small. I love that. I also call it the vertical city.
Yeah, it is.
You know, which continues to grow and grow every year. Now, I know you personally, and you're always happy-go-lucky. You're a bubbly guy, but you have the toughest job in Toronto. How do you balance those two characters? That's obviously one, Mr. Saunders, but how do you balance both?
I think that my job is a lot easier compared to what I'm asking the men and women of the city of Toronto Police Service to do.
Interesting.
In today's environment, it's so much more challenging, so many more different layers of oversight, so many more responsibilities on the calls that they go to have changed so dramatically since I was on the road. I think being a chief, it's not about being the smartest guy or the smartest girl in the room. It's about having good judgment. That judgment comes from your years of experience and having a firm understanding of the industry that you're in. And it's been 34 and a half going on to 35 years of policing. So I can put some decent judgment out there every now and then.
Well, sir, back in April 17th, 2015 was a pivotal day, pivotal time for you.
Yeah.
You were named the official Chief of Police for Toronto. Now, as a Black figure as well, holding that title of importance, the only second in Canadian history. How did that feel?
It was exciting. I was over the moon.
Yes.
It was something that I really had thought I'd worked hard for. And I thought that I could offer a different lens in this seat. You know, I've had a Black experience living in the city, living in Canada, and with that comes knowledge and looking at things from a different lens.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping that the opportunity of applying both those elements would create a different perspective of policing, and hopefully the right perspective, especially when we look at our city being the most diverse city in the world, and immigration is our #1 source of growth. So that's not going to diminish, that's only going to increase. And so the more we recognize that as Canadians, the better we have an opportunity of really keeping Canada on the world map. You speak of Canada, you speak of Toronto. What does Toronto mean to you, though, Chief? For me, it's a safe place for my family, and it's a place that I would never want to leave. I love the city of Toronto, and I've grown to love Toronto over the years, through good, bad, and indifferent. There are some moments where, you know, you're not so proud, but when you start to realize that this is an urban city, fourth largest urban city in North America, and when you start looking at the numbers and you start looking at the amazing things that Toronto has to offer, then you start to realize what a gem the city really is. When you talk about urban city, it's very peaceful, it's very calm, although a lot of people would think differently during rush hour, but looking at it from a big picture perspective, it's a very peaceful city. I do travel a lot, I've been in a lot of urban cities, so I really do see the huge difference that Toronto has to offer when it comes to that.
Speaking of hundreds of thousands of people coming to this urban city, fourth largest urban city, you head the Pan Am and Para-Pan Am Games as far as it comes to, the safety in this city for citizens, for the athletes, for the games alone.
Yeah.
That's a huge role for you, and I can't even imagine, how do you go from millions of people in Toronto and keeping us safe to now introducing hundreds of thousands of more people in our city?
Here we have the largest sporting venue in Canadian history.
Yes.
And the vast majority of it was occurring in Toronto. And what made it a success were the citizens of Toronto and the GTA.
Wow.
We had over 20,000 volunteers, people volunteering.
20,000?
Yeah, volunteering their own time to make this thing go well. And I can tell you, if we did not have that, if we didn't have that opportunity to have so many people that volunteered, there's no way we would have pulled it off. So that's just the fabric of Toronto, the GTA. And we turned down a lot of people, turned down thousands of people.
Yeah. Okay, so we were speaking of family a little bit earlier. You are father to 4?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
4.
Yeah, 4.
And I was so privileged to meet your littlest guy, Graham. He's such a beautiful little boy. He is, of course, so articulate, so sweet, so inside and out, just beautiful soul.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
He'll be watching this because he's got the massive crush on you, as you know. So, yeah.
And I know that he responds very well when I do the weather here in Toronto.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, he does.
So please, this is for you, okay, Graham? I want to talk about him, highlight him a little bit, and of course, the great parenting that you and your beautiful wife do, especially with your 4 kids, but especially with Graham. Graham is autistic.
Yeah.
How has that journey been for you?
We've had 4 children.
Yeah.
They call hers, mine, and ours. I'll leave it at that. And Graham is our youngest, 12 and a half years old, and he is high function autistic. And it taught us how to learn differently. There's nothing wrong with autism.
No, there isn't.
It is, we try to embrace it rather than shun away from it. We've had opportunities of dealing with other families. Every family has their own way of dealing with it, and right now people still have concerns and stigma towards it, and so some families don't necessarily want to put it out there as much because they feel it's very stigmatic to their children. But we went the other way, and we went, you know what, hey, we're celebrating you because you're a fantastic kid and we love you, and because you think differently, you're not going to get treated differently. We did a lot of research. We had an understanding of what we were dealing with, and my wife, who is the champion of the house, is the one who really has kept me up to speed and educated me on the processes and the things to do, things not to do. It's taught me how to learn and how to think differently, which has helped for successful outcomes. Every day you're learning something new.
Absolutely.
And the most important thing is, I'm finding, is that he's helped bring the family closer.
So you speak of family. Toronto consists of so many families. We live in a melting pot, and I always say the world lives in Toronto. Sir, talk to me about this city, having your family in this city. Do you feel it's safe to raise a family in Toronto?
Absolutely. I've worked the city for 34 and a half years, and when you look at the vast majority of crimes that are occurring, other than the new crimes, the identity thefts and things along those lines, when we talk about crimes and violence, a lot of the crimes that are occurring from that perspective is due to the lifestyle that is lived by the individuals. I think the bigger picture for our city is we have to figure out how to invest more money into a lot of these neighborhoods where there are a lot of kids that don't have that hope and don't have that opportunity. and will get swayed into making bad decisions. If you are surrounded by a good, strong, healthy family with lots of support, lots of love, this is a fantastically safe city. And all you have to do is look at our numbers that will show you that.
You're so right, because me personally, if I may share, I grew up in metro housing. I grew up in Scarborough, the Canadian ghetto, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With just my mom alone and a single parent, you know, she was very young. So all the odds were stacked against us.
Yeah.
Yet I sit here today, hopefully an inspiration to those at home. You sit there today, an inspiration as well. And I love that message, you know, as long as you're surrounded by love, then you can conquer the world.
It is something that we need to have a firmer understanding when it comes to policing. Our role is community safety, and a lot of people mistake that for our single role should be enforcement. Enforcement should be when things reach a failure point. If we're going to do this right, there have to be a multitude of agencies wrapped around and working together to help solve the problems. And you know, at the end of the day, yeah, people are going to do things where the enforcement piece needs to come in. But I think if we're looking at being proactive, then we have to get other agencies involved at the front end so that we don't have to necessarily do as much enforcement as we need to.
You got it. Back to the basics, teamwork, right?
Back to the basics, and that's why I'm getting my guys and girls back on the streets, walking the beat, getting to know people.
Speaking of the community as well, you like to get out there. You know, I want to know about you, the man behind the uniform. Earlier mentioned that you like photography. We're here at West Lodge in Toronto, surrounded by all this art. First of all, are you inspired? Second of all, what inspires your photography? And talk to us about this passion. This is amazing.
What I love about photography for me is night photography. I find at night, the streets tell a different story. There's a lot of time for thinking, a lot of time for creativity. Photography, at the end of the day, it's about light. How you bend, how you manipulate light to get what you're looking for. And so there are some more challenges to taking the photography at night. But I like more landscapes, so I like images of buildings and landscapes for the most part, And I haven't done much in Toronto. I usually do it, I do it everywhere else, but not in Toronto. And the more I drive around, the more...
You're too busy.
If I'm not working, I'd rather be home with my family.
That's amazing.
So maybe when the day comes when I hang up the hat, I think Toronto's gonna have a great opportunity for some great shots.
Chief, I want to actually talk to you about Toronto and the city that we live in. The city kind of chose you, well, thanks to your Jamaican father and Jamaican mother who came here, of course, settled in Milton, and then here we are today in front of you. This city is spoken, in many conversations across the world. You call this city home. Your kids are all Canadian?
Yes.
They're all Canadian?
Yes. I have to think about that. Yes, all of my babies are Canadian.
They're all Canadian. Yeah. Well, this city was able to show you so much love, creating who you are today in this amazing career. What has been a career highlight for you in this city, in Toronto, a career highlight?
Without hesitation, becoming chief of police was definitely the highlight of my career. But there's so many different milestones growing up. You know, doing undercover work was really exciting.
Yes.
Working on a gun team for numerous years, running a gun team.
Wow.
Working homicide, doing homicide investigations. So there are many, many highlights that have led to where we are, and I'm excited to see what the future has to bring. But policing, the one great thing about policing, which is what I said earlier, is every day can be different. It can be a different job, almost a different source of employment. If you leave one section, go to another, you're still within the policing family, but it will feel, won't only feel, it is a brand new job. And not many industries get that opportunity.
No.
And so I think that the range of things that you can do in policing really makes it exciting.
34 and a half years, all those divisions, especially in homicide, and now as a chief, sir, you've seen a lot. And I'm sure some cases must stick with you, right?
The homicide investigations can resonate the most. Patricia, when you're working homicide, you get these calls, and a lot of these calls are in those neighborhood improvement areas. And the victims, a lot of the time, and I do mean a lot of the time, are young men of color it really becomes a sobering moment. And that's when you really have to take a step back and say, if we're going to define success, we have to redefine success, because me solving that homicide case is not success. Getting in front of that kid to not make that bad decision, that's success. And so a lot of the homicide cases really taught me a lot, and it also helps me out. So whenever the communities are talking, I'm listening, because I can understand what they're going through. And when people in certain areas of the city are living a different experience, I remember this mother who basically told me they have a family of mothers that there were so many sounds of gunshots every night that what they would do is they would take turns for the night shift. And if there were sounds of gunshots, the first mother would call the second mother, and the third and the fourth and the fifth, and they'd each check to see if their child was home. And I thought, here we are in the city of Toronto, and that's how certain families have to live in order to survive. We have a long way to go in certain areas of the city. We've moved forward in a lot of ways, but we still have to take a step back and help pick up those that really do need us.
It's great to be acknowledged by your communities, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you've been celebrated by all communities. What does that feel like to have the support of the people?
I've always wanted to do what I do just to make a positive difference. That's it. And if rewards come, I've never looked for them. If they do come, then it reminds me that people are watching. And so I guess you would feel the same way.
Big time.
You do your thing every day, and you do a fantastic job at it,
sir,
but you also have to realize that the people are watching, and whether you like it or not, you've assumed a position of being a role model.
Big time.
And so now the question is, what are you gonna do with that? How are you gonna pay it forward? And it's by always being that positive example and always sharing your message to others so that it can hopefully inspire them to move things in the right direction.
So I want to talk to you about the sweetest moment in your life. What was that moment of nostalgia, that moment when you're like, ooh, I'm going to be a police officer, I'm going to be the chief? What was the sweetest moment in your career that stands out to you?
Getting on the job.
Yeah.
Because, you're just this young kid, and in my case, I'm out there, I'm disc jockeying, and I put the application in, and it's this, all the information's in this vortex, and you really don't know whether or not they're looking for you, and then you get that phone call, and that's pretty exciting. Calling your friends, calling your family, calling everybody to let them know that
Did you cry?
you got accepted. No, didn't cry.
Too much of a
But I was pumped for a long time though. It was great, and then getting that uniform for the first time.
Right.
It's really, really neat.
Oh.
Yeah.
What does it feel like putting on that crisp outfit? It feels so great.
Well, now you're used to it. 34 and a half years of doing it. It's like the first couple of months, it's exciting.
Wow.
I mean, it's really exciting. And then you realize the role of policing really is serving others.
Yeah.
People watch TV and we're jumping over fences and chasing bad guys. The reality is we're continuously helping people that are in a critical state, that are in need of help, that are at a point where they can't create any solutions, and they're looking for you to help them. And so it really is a tremendous amount of service involved in policing. And I think that's the shocker to a lot of people that get on the job, that realize that there are so many people that do need help. That's what the role is too. Our role is to help.
You helped your student body back in high school, and you're helping the people today. Do you remember that you were the president of student council?
I was president of student council.
You were. So voted by the people to get that position.
Yeah. In grade school and in high school.
Oh,
yeah.
Both?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
a born leader. What does it feel like to lead the people, man? That's amazing.
You know what? I come from a family of alphas, so I've got two brothers and three sisters. My sister was world record holder in track and field, and my brother was the number one miler in Canada as well too. So a lot of alphas in the family. So whatever we tended to excel at, it was this go for it type of attitude that we've always had.
That was instilled by both mom and dad.
It was mom and dad. Yeah.
Sir, what has been the biggest lesson in your career?
As you get older in policing, you start to figure out the most important quality is to listen to people. Having a son with autism has expanded that, because you don't listen to what a person says, you have to listen to what a person means.
Okay.
And there is a vast difference between that. And if you have the ability of dissecting that down and understanding what people mean, then you really are leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of other people in the room. And so my biggest lesson has been, you can move a lot further, a lot faster, if you really listen to what people mean.
So, sir, we did speak about your passion for photography.
Yes.
What is one particular piece for you that stands out? What's your favorite piece that you've shot?
Canada Day, our 150th birthday. I knew that they're doing fireworks, and I knew that they're going to be special because they're going to do some of them right on the CN Tower.
Yes.
So I feel sorry for my family because I got to drag them with me.
Oh, no, they enjoy it.
Oh, no, because I pack enough equipment to load a meal and take the family, and then you have to look for the spot. And I didn't get the spot that I wanted, but I was able to slide in between two cameras. So I had about this much space to work with.
Okay.
And I've got a really nice shot for firework coming right off the CN Tower.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah, and it's really cool. You've got the Rogers Center in a beautiful bluey, turquoisey color, and then the fireworks. Pretty shot.
Is it the one that's spinning out of the base like that goes?
No. It's a cascading effect.
Nice.
So
I know exactly. Yeah.
For the photographers, you're looking at a 4-second shutter speed. So I'm happy with that.
Sir, you're sitting in front of me. I know you as a chief of police. The world knows you as the chief of police. You're my friend, though, Mark Saunders. So as I look at you in uniform, I'm trying to gauge, what would the chief be if he wasn't the chief?
Maybe a disc jockey.
Yeah, I knew it.
May still be spinning, although it's so technical now. It's so technical now. But I still love music, and I range everything. I like classical, rock, hard rock, R&B, old school. You name it.
Yeah.
I'll listen to anything. So I still have a tremendous passion for all types of music. So that would be something that I would enjoy. I dabbled in real estate for a little bit.
Yeah?
And I thought, you know what, you got to live with no regrets. And I wanted to know whether or not that was something I'd want to pursue really hard.
Right.
That didn't turn out that well. The passion wasn't there for that. So most likely disc jockey.
What would be your disc jockey name?
Well, my company was called Prime Time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
MC Primetime?
DJ Primetime.
DJ Primetime? Yeah. Primetime Spinner?
Anytime with Primetime is a good time.
I love it. I want to hear a little bit of maybe we can battle. Stay tuned. Well, you speak of technology, you speak of DJing, you speak of all that. We're now in 2017, my friend. It's a new time.
Yes.
So think about that in the spectrum of, look at that, you got your Apple Watch on your hand, we got cell phones, taking photography even on our cell phones these days. Changing the world with technology these days. In policing, though, how has technology, kind of integrated itself for your side of policing, but also the other side as far as it comes to the bad guys?
It's a game changer. Technology is a huge game changer. You can look at it from many different perspectives. Number one, let's say for home protection.
Yeah.
So at home, I've got internal and external camera system. The internal camera system has facial recognition.
Wow.
This is stuff that would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now I'm picking it up for a couple of $100s. So it's affordable now to people that really need to keep themselves secure. So from that perspective, it's very good. From a officer, law enforcement perspective, we have to look and think differently. Crime, before we box in our city and look for the bad guy, the bad guy could be in a basement in Brazil somewhere. So now we have to think more globally when it comes to our police investigations. We have to have stronger partnerships with all of our partners if we're going to get it right now. And we're all going through these pressures, looking at using technology. Technology is what got us out of the communities, because before our officers would walk the beat and they'd have to phone in to say where they were at posts.
Big time.
And then the car came in, then our car was the only source of communication. So our officers walking the beat weren't necessarily connecting with the community or with the dispatcher. You'd have to be in a car to connect with the dispatcher.
Okay.
Now with technology, we have officers walking the beat, but now we're looking at having a connected officer. So connected officer having access to all the information he or she needs in his or her fingertips, there in real time, will have the opportunity to untether from the cars, be more connected with the community, and I think we'll be able to create stronger relationships from that particular perspective. So
amazing.
Technology is changing our way of thinking. Now with the internet, the home is not necessarily the safe place. We have to educate our public a lot better. Parents, how to teach our parents what to look for when it comes to our kids on social media. All of these things that are changers in community safety that we have to look at, and also enhancers to enhance our community safety as well too. So if you want to talk about what provides the most opportunities for the future, it's going to be technology by far.
Let's talk about the diversity in the communities, because things are going so fast. Are we losing that human-to-human connection?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And I can tell you that 80% of what we do involves crisis resolution.
Yeah.
So we'll never be replaced by machines, not in the near or in the foreseeable future, because 80% of law enforcement is resolving disputes. And so for that, you're going to have a human doing that. When it comes to the diversity piece, we've got one of the, if not the most diverse police service in North America, and I'm excited about that. And in order to do that, it's not by magic, it's by keeping your foot on the gas and recognizing the importance of diversity, not only so that our service reflects our community, but when you have a diverse group of people in the room, you get to learn about one another, which makes you better when you start to encounter other people of the same diversity or different diversities.
And is it important to have all the different faces and races so they can identify with the community?
Absolutely. It's necessary.
It is.
It's necessary.
How has Toronto changed in 34 years, sir? You have been in this role for 34 and a half, don't forget the 0.5. How has Toronto changed in that time?
Well, it's grown.
Yeah.
It's grown substantially. So the volume is one. The amount of firearms in the city is two. I can tell you when I was first walking the beat and doing my job, the only people that had firearms were police officers. And if bad guy got caught with a gun, the whole city would the whole division would shut down and go run and look at the gun.
Wow.
Because the only thing we knew were our 38 specials.
Right.
And now our young men and women are out there, and we're seizing guns, more than one gun, on a daily basis.
Daily basis.
Yeah, we're over 500 right now and growing. So the prevalence of firearms is something that is a concern, but a very noticeable increase compared to yesteryear.
Not many, eh?
You bet.
What can we do to change this? How do we get the message out there?
I think that we have to go back to the basics again. And why would a person want to buy a gun for criminal means? And then looking at root cause of those decisions, and then what can we do to step in front of that?
Let's talk about the positive side of it. What has been a good day for you on the job?
A good day, listen, every day I have the honor of going out there and talking with men and women that are keeping the streets safe. And I see strong relationships. I know there are segments that we need to work on, and you know, it's not all roses and unicorns yet, but the vast majority of people we get along with very well. And when I see the officers walking in the neighborhoods, I deliberately watch to see what the relationship is, and I see people coming out of their houses and doing exactly what you say, shaking hands, saying thank you, officer, asking how are you doing, knowing the officers by name. And so what I'm looking forward to is increasing that. I think that the more we do that, the more we will be investing in those neighborhoods, the more we will have a proactive method of crime solving than reactive. And so I'm excited about the future and what it brings.
Now, sir, when you take off the layers and you're just Mark Saunders, the family man, the guy who loves that, camera around his arm as he's looking for that perfect shot, the guy who's in the community just enjoying himself, on a patio, enjoying the summer in the city. What do you like to do for fun? Just real talk. What do you like to do for fun?
I'm a boring guy.
Boring.
I just love hanging around with my wife. Right? She's my rock, and she kind of
She's your best friend?
She's more than that, but she stabilizes me at the end of the day. So I tend to do a lot of that, and that has been my solace, really. So if we sit back on the deck and just chill, that's a good way to close the day.
I love that. It's a dream for some people, right?
Yeah.
Just to have that, your partner in crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, sir, when all is said and done, I'd love you to share with us today your legacy. What would you want people to remember you for?
You know, I hope people will remember me for making the right decisions. I've never taken this job personally. I'm here to do my very best to keep anyone that comes, lives, plays, or works in the city of Toronto safe, including my family.
Yes.
And so I don't make decisions on personal reasons or vendettas. I will always make the decisions based on, in my heart, do I think this is the right thing to do to keep the city safe? And so I hope that I'm remembered for doing just that.
Thank you for being here, and thank you all for watching the Patricia J Show. I can't believe our time is over. Again, thank you for being here, sir. I wish you and your family all the best, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, we're socially savvy, just like the Chief, so use our hashtag, The Patricia J Show, and get to us online so we can keep this conversation, especially the Canadian conversations, going. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers to you, everyone. We'll see you next time.